But I can't see you.
Well, I put it on video.
All I have is your logo.
I hate Skype with such passion. I hate this goddamn program.
He hates it with a passion, y'all.
Man, I hate this thing. Hold on. Let me try one more damn time.
I don't know what we're starting on, y'all. I don't know if we're doing tech or poly or what. Doing one or the other. And they clicky the button. And they clicky the button. And the button go clicky. Okay, it looks like a very pixelated video. You want me to turn mine on too so you can see me, or do you want to chance it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Skype is telling me my connection's good. And I did tests.
Okay.
More tests and more tests. And for instance, my upload speeds are even greater.
That wasn't a yes or no. Should I turn on video or not?
You don't need to turn video.
Okay. He's like, no, it's not working good enough. We'll leave it alone. He's like,
yes, forget it.
All right, let me center you in frame.
So I'm gonna test my speed right now.
You have no Skype.
Yeah, because I've been trying to troubleshoot. If I gotta rule out everything else, right?
I don't think it's the internet. I think it's one of the proxy nodes. It has to do something with your geographical location, because I never had this problem with anyone else.
Yeah, see, my download is 2023 right now, and this is my upload while running this video.
And 20 is enough to do a high speed. I mean to do a high def.
I'm at 1.95 up.
Enough to do a mid-quality high def. Not like Uber.
That's running. That's while running
a high def feed. Yeah, I know. It just, I don't know.
So, woo, man, good Lord.
What are we starting with?
I'm really only because I don't have much time, but I'm really passionate about the whole Zimmerman shit.
All right.
I'd like to do a video on it, but we're not doing any tech on this show. Not this one.
He made the call, y'all. I didn't.
Let's see here. Yeah, man. I cannot. Your video first of all did a real good job on it, and the thing that I don't know, eventually it's going to blow over. I know that,
But in the meantime, how many precedents are we going to set in the law? I mean, the scream right now is the courts be damned, law be damned, facts be damned. If you bitch at politicians enough, we can get whatever verdict we want.
This is like a mob mentality right now. But here, I guess there's some primary things that I wanted to first cover. When President Obama basically said if I were to have a son, he'd be like Trayvon, that's not a race. He wasn't talking about race. He was talking about gun control. First and
No.
foremost,
First off, let's be very clear. Every politician that has charmed in on the Trayvon bandwagon has done so for one very particular reason. There was political gain in it. There was an issue of the moment. There was political gun. In Obama's case, like you say, gun control, and all the senators, and everybody who's chimed in on the political spectrum has done so because there was political clout. And hey, I'm on this side.
But in the beginning, people didn't realize that this was really a gun control battle. People don't remember back in 2012. Don't we remember the whole AR-15 crap and all this other stuff? So this was really a move for the president to further try to cement a gun control issue. And the media immediately, though, because remember, NBC was one of the first to go out of the gate and then edit the 911 call, right? So then you have two factions of politically backed forces. One which is gun control, and then the race baiters, the people who make profit off of racism, which are racist themselves.
Well, but in all fairness, I'm going to put just as much clout into the reverse side, playing just as much political backwash in this, because the whole thing stayed politically charged from the word go.
They charged, but the inverse political ideas were on defensive. They did, which usually happens. Typically on a like, for instance, a gun issue, everybody comes out blazing. Usually it's the people that will want some sort of laws come out, and then there's a knee-jerk reaction for the opposite. Similarly to other issues, where take like the Texas with the abortion issues, the Republicans here made the first move, and the knee-jerk reaction and then fell on the Democrats for this. But usually when gun control and race, I guess the libertarian conservative sides are usually on the defensive when it comes to who's first to first base to make claims and start a political heated agenda. And the thing of it is, though, race, my wife and I were discussing it because my mother-in-law, she doesn't speak very much English at all, but she was asking, and we were talking about in other countries, there's a lot of class warfare in countries.
Well, let's be honest. There's class warfare in the U.S. and contrary to the popular opinion taught in school, the United States is not a classless civilization. Classless civilizations don't exist. The difference with the U.S. and other countries in the world is we're not a peg-hole class society, and that wherever you start isn't where you're going to end up. You're allowed to move all around as you see fit.
Right. I don't know, I can't get something going, and we were discussing it, I was like, in this country, racism goes farther because it's profitable. It's just, these race baiters out there, whole organizations exist for perpetuating a defensive, which is really an offensive, but perpetuating a victimhood defensive strategy to try to say we want ours, and in the process are racist themselves by doing so, and are exploiting mostly everyone in America because they're really doing so because it's profitable. If there wasn't any profit in it, I guarantee this.
Well, it's not just that it's profitable. What pisses me off so much about it is it's not just that it's profitable. And I mean, I'm a capitalist.
Just in monetary.
But no. But it's profitable for the ones who instigate it, in that they get power and they get money and they get all the things. But at the expense of segregating and crippling people, and that's the bit that pisses me off to no frickin' effect. I'm like, the people you say, what, why, what, stop.
Exactly, and oh, you know what? On the upload speeds too, when I did my speed, I forget to interject here. I'm also doing a backup to one of my internet reservoirs, so I'm going to pause it too. So that upload test was with a backup and the video test. So hopefully this will.
So far we're fine.
I just paused the syncing, so hopefully it'll help my video quality, because I'm watching Skype here too, and it kind of was bitching a little bit. But anyway, so the president. So getting back, as I digress, the president starts off with gun control, and then we have NBC basically screwing up with the 911 call, and then all of a sudden everybody shows
Well,
up.
and by the way, the only person the press could interview when they went around looking for reactions still doesn't realize that the words that come after that 911 tape was okay. He was told not to follow, and he said, okay.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal that people don't get. This is, number one, the reason why from more of the elite Democratic side, this is a more uncontrolled thing. They'll use the race because race is easy. They'll take it on. But if you listen to their arguments, you shouldn't have done this. This caused this, which is emanating from, well, he had a gun. And many on the left do not like the idea, of course, of us having guns or the right to defend ourselves with a firearm. I would say maybe the moderates outside of the home is unacceptable. Within the home is acceptable, and then you have the fringe where it's just not acceptable at all, across the board. So, I am an HOA president. We do not have a sanctioned neighborhood watch, but
You have a neighborhood watch?
we have a neighborhood watch, but it is not sanctioned by the HOA. I mean, I'm the president of HOA. We do not facilitate really anything to our neighborhood watches. That is completely their setup with the county that they do on their own.
And if you're going to have that, I tend to prefer that setup because you can inevitably wind up with a Zimmerman Trayvon situation when you have a section.
I was kind of, when I heard the case, I was kind of interested that the HOA guy was up there. I'm like, man, we don't.
HOAs are very I told you about the Gestapo HOA here. Everybody expects the HOA to be the Gestapo here, and then they complain that they're the Gestapo.
When it comes to surety and the law, we consider that the purview of the individual citizen, or individual residents to deal with the law. And the neighborhood watch here is sanctioned through the county. They get the signs and everything. Their street captains all dealing with the county. And so they don't really even need to go through the HOA. We would just be a middleman in the way. And some of the watch captains happen to be black, some are Hispanic, some are white, or whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Right. But it was the thing about profiling is Zimmerman was not profiling at all. I can't stand that argument.
That's the other thing. If to cater to political pressure, a federal case is brought up, that is bringing a case in disearnest because the FBI has already profiled, interviewed, and run Zimmerman over the rigors on this particular issue, and the conclusion has been there was no racial motivation of any kind. It was the neighborhood's been being burglarized and pursuing suspects with nothing on. Now, the other thing that comes into issue here is there were three possible outcomes to this case. One was a charge that was put in for political reasons, which was murder 2. That was never really a possibility of conviction. There was no sign.
Well, I wanted to get into why it went murder 2,
Okay.
and why the prosecution wanted that specifically. But before that, I wanted to finish my street captain, the neighborhood watch. They, in Section 7, my neighborhood is a hybrid situation where it's very rare. We have, 850 individual residents within our entire community. Less than half are private homes, and the rest are townhomes. And most of our work as HOA has to deal with managing the townhomes. It's a lot of work in dealing with that. And Section 7 of our townhomes, which is our newest section of all of them, has had a lot of crime. And they would report, let me tell you, because they would give us information, HOA saying, because we always ask, crime reports. We'll get them because we'll publish them and try to help the community work together. But we don't, sanction anything. So they report anything suspicious. And I personally, when I first got on the board, though, worked with the Harris County Gang Task Force. I was out there. I'm some racist, bastard out there.
The last thing I heard, you just froze for a second. The last thing I heard was I was out there.
I was out there. I was out there working with Harris County Gang Task Force, and we were pushing the gangs that were encroaching within our community out. We would get
Congratulations, you're a racist.
Yes, exactly. And I would follow anybody. I don't care who you were. If you looked at suspicious, doing things like going in our park where they would knock out the light posts and then go way back in the fence, and then they'd walk along. I mean, who does that kind of crap? And there were other instances, and we'd of course we'd walk. Now whether I can still carry or not is not the point. I would work with Harris County and say, hey, we'd call them in, and these guys in the Harris County would say, okay, where's our location at now? And if they're moving, okay, where's our location at now? Because the 911 call through reading, I was like, hey, this kind of thing happened with me. And in our watch captains that try to keep our neighborhood crime free, and it's just ironic that I saw a lot of how when we live in our neighborhoods, we all want to live safe, but then we have this idiot crap about, well, no, you can't live safe if you can't be an active citizen, or how they would like to use this wannabe cop crap. You can't do that. You must sit behind.
Well, let's be honest. The Zimmerman wannabe crap stuff wasn't crap because he was studying to be a cop. He was a wannabe.
Word they used that phrase to degrade him. They degrade that idea. They don't like that idea. That's what I was trying to say when I started. Is that
to be honest, I'm not sure I like that idea given the experience I've had with some officers, but hey, okay.
I'm saying, but his point is he wants to help out the community, right? If someone wants to be an officer, usually, like he was volunteering his time, he wanted to help out the community. And like our watch captains, like ourselves when we were trying to push the gangs out, we were working with our community because we had residents complaining about everything that was going on. And it's a lot of work. You have to sit there and get when it's graffiti and the gang task force come out here and they take pictures of it, or when there's gang activity, helping out Harris County, where are they moving to, where are they going, how many are involved, all kinds of things that are being active to try to make things safer for our neighborhood, that our own police force, our own county force asks us to do to get involved. Now, they don't ask us to literally just go there and start making arrests and holding people at gunpoint or whatever, none of that, but they like to know information of how many, where are they going, areas that they're walking to, congregating, types of graffiti marks they're doing, times that they're out and active, places that they're most active at. I mean, so we were successful in pushing a lot of the gangs out of our neighborhood. And I can tell you a lot of people were just scared. This was years ago when I first got on the board, and we're wanting to move out, my wife included, especially when they started spray painting our streets, literally. So I just see a lot of this crap for political agendas. Good people trying to protect the people within their own neighborhood, which is going to include all races, especially here where I live. That it just doesn't make sense when they start saying, racial profiling. We profile a behavior. We're not profiling a skin color, we're profiling a behavior. And it's in reading the report or the transcript of the 911 call, Zimmerman is in his car and he sees a guy dodging in and out, taking shortcuts that normally wouldn't really be stopping and then looking. And it's interesting. So because I'm reading, I read the transcripts and I'm like, okay. And of course, the infamous line that NBC truncated, where he basically said, "Hey, we've had some break-ins in my neighborhood, and there's a real suspicious guy. It's retreat circle. The best address I can give you is the 111 retreat view circle. This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining, and he's just walking around, looking about." We've had that in my neighborhood, especially by our park.
Hell, I've been that suspect, y'all. I'm not kidding. I've been that suspect. I've had the cops come over and question me for being that person. And I'm like, I don't think anything of it. I'm like, okay, I can see why somebody would freak out. I'm kind of freaked out.
That's what break-ins, yeah, exactly. This is like, okay, and is the guy white, black, or Hispanic? And he says he looks black. And then dispatcher, did you see what he was wearing? Zimmerman described, yeah, a dark hoodie, like gray hoodie, or either jeans or sweatpants and white tennis shoes. He's here now. He was just staring. So here's Zimmerman in his truck with a dude staring at him, which I can tell you when you're driving in the gang activity, they were staring us down, and the captain, and even our Harris County sheriffs, would get like, what are you looking at? That kind of thing. So already the creepiness is starting to come in. And a dispatcher, okay, is he just walking around the area? Zimmerman looking at all the houses. See, now that to me would be already, if you're some dude like walking around and then looking at houses, to me you're profiling, looking at something, especially if there's breaking. To me, you're already, if you already live there, you know where to go. So what's your point of just like looking around at different houses and?
Okay, again, I have been that person because I start walking around and go, hey, I wonder if I'd like to live here.
Now, so that would flag me to say, like, this dude, and he's looking at different houses and peeping around. Come on. And then dispatcher, okay, and then Zimmerman, now he's just staring at me. So it's like, is this guy going to watch me looking at that is a reasonable suspicion without having a profile for some stupid race. The behavior is suspicious, period. Now the dispatcher said, okay, you said it's one house, right? So he turned into his neighborhood, and I've seen the map. So it's like an L shape where, if I'm on the camera for people looking, Trayvon's house is, if the L shape is here, Trayvon's house is right here, and the circle's right here, and the T junction was right next to the circle because Zimmerman was parked there, right in front of the clubhouse. And he says, that's a clubhouse. Do you know what? It says, what? Do you know what he's near the club? Oh, he's near the clubhouse right now. Zimmerman, yeah, now he's coming towards me. Dispatcher, okay. So Zimmerman then goes, he's got his hand in his waistband, and he's a black male. So now he's got Trayvon approaching him while he's in his car with his hand in his waistband. And to me, if that were me in the car looking at someone, I'm like, okay, does this guy have a piece or what?
This is probably going to get me killed one of these days, but my honest reaction there would be, hey man, what's going on? I'm not kidding. That would be my honest reaction at that point. But I understand your point of view too. It's just that.
And it says, how old would you say he looks? He's got a button on his shirt, late teens. Well, see, if I'm watching and this guy's already been around there just looking at houses, not going in anywhere particular, like what's happened with our gang activity here, and other crimes that we have had, and the guys got big because unfortunately we've had armed robberies, and I'm going to bring up a case, by the way, of a stand your ground that just happened in Houston.
Well, okay, but before you even go into the whole stand your ground thing, this was not a stand your ground case.
No, but hold on. They tried to use it as law. That's what I'm trying to say. But
it was in no way used in the case.
I understand.
It was politicized. But
Yes.
it would.
Now, dispatcher, okay, so he says he's got on his shirt late teens, dispatcher, late teens, okay, Zimmerman, something's wrong with him. Yep, he's coming to check me out. He's got something in his hands. I don't know what his deal is. Dispatcher, just let me know if he does anything, okay? And then Zimmerman, it says unclear. See if you can get an officer over here. He said, and then dispatcher says, yeah, we've got someone on the way. Just let me know if this guy does anything else. Zimmerman says, okay. See, now the operator's saying, let me know if he's doing something else. Okay? That's already, he's in his truck and just got the clearance to say, let me know if he's doing something else. Zimmerman, okay, these assholes, I believe was the expletive Zimmerman used, always get away. Yep, when you come to the clubhouse, you come straight in and make a left. Actually, you would go past the clubhouse, dispatcher. So it's up on the left-hand side from the clubhouse, and Zimmerman goes, no, you go straight into the entrance and then you make a left. You go straight in, don't turn and make a left. Oh, I guess the asshole, he's running, because it says expletive. He's running, dispatcher. He's running. Which way is he running? Zimmerman, down towards the other entrance to the neighborhood, dispatcher. Which entrance is that he's heading towards? The back entrance, and I guess he cussed some more and it says unclear. Now, obviously, the operator already said, let me know if he's doing something. Then he's asking what is happening, right? So, after Zimmerman said the back entrance, he's already out of the vehicle. Which, like, when I read all these left-leaning blogs, completely already missed. He's already out of his vehicle. Because they're asking him, what is that guy doing and which way is he running? And now the dispatcher says, are you following him? Zimmerman says, yeah. Dispatcher says, okay, we don't need you to do that. Zimmerman says, okay, they didn't say don't do it. It says, we just don't need you to do that. So now, according to Zimmerman, he's going to go back to his truck, right? And so Zimmerman says, okay, dispatcher. All right, sir, what is your name? And Zimmerman, George. And then he said he ran. So Zimmerman just told the dispatcher he ran. Dispatcher, all right. George, what's your last name? And it says, a clicking or knocking sound can be heard here in the transcript. Zimmerman, he says, and then he repeats his name, dispatcher. George, what's the phone number? And he gives his phone number. They removed it. Dispatcher, all right, George, we do have him on the way. Do you want to meet with the officer when you get there? Zimmerman says, yeah. Dispatcher, all right, we're going to meet all right, where are you going to meet with them at? Zimmerman, if they come through and then they heard a knocking sound, gate, tell them to go straight past the clubhouse and then there's a knocking sound, straight past the clubhouse and make a left and then go past the mailboxes. That's my truck. So dispatcher says, what address are you parked in front of? And Zimmerman goes on, I don't know, it's a cut through, so I don't know the address. Okay, do you live in the area? And he says, yeah. What's your apartment number? He gives his apartment and he goes, oh crap, I don't want to give all of it out. I don't know where the kid is. See? People who don't follow facts. He's already going back to his truck, completely lost. Trayvon doesn't know where he's going. He's talking to the freaking operator. Because the operator at first asked him, which direction is the guy going? Where is he headed? Descriptions, this and that. When they finally say, are you following him already? Because the operator probably could tell at some point, because he's able to say, now he's going here, he's going to the back entrance and this and that, or are you following him? And then he goes, okay, so now he's already returned back to his truck. Zimmerman's already said, I don't know what a freaking kid is, and he doesn't want to say his apartment number because he's afraid if the kid is nearby, he doesn't want this guy coming to his apartment. This is why he clearly says it right here on the transcript, I don't want to give it out. I don't know where the kid is. So dispatcher goes, okay, do you want to just meet them right near the mailboxes? And Zimmerman goes, yes, that's fine. So he doesn't want to meet the officers, number one, in front of his house or get out, or his address is, because he doesn't know where this kid is or who he is, what it is. So clearly, this is my whole point of why this guy was not guilty. Regardless of all the emotional crap the jurors are trying to square up, because I'm sure the jurors are worried about losing their anonymity,
Oh, well, hell, one of them's writing a book. Yeah, they're real worried about their anonymity.
4 of them went against, I think 4 of them were like, oh, no, we have compassion, because that first one came against it, more forthright with their opinion. All right, and they go, all right, George, I'll let them know to meet you around there. Okay, and Zimmerman actually, could you have them call me in? I'll let them know where I'm at. Dispatcher, okay, then that's no problem. So Zimmerman at this point is worried about standing in front of the mailboxes because he's not sure where Trayvon is at. He just doesn't know. He doesn't want to go to his house because he doesn't want whoever this is to possibly know where he lives or anything. So he's nervous at this point. Should I give you my number or you got it? Dispatcher, yeah, I got it. And then Zimmerman, yeah, you got it. Okay. So no problem. I'll let them know to call you when they're in the area. And then Zimmerman says, thanks, and you're welcome. So basically, according to testimony and what we can put together, after this, essentially, we know that from the transcripts, he was already out of his truck on the basis of what was being asked of him by the 911 operator. Finally, when enough information was given where he was able, he ran, and then, okay, now he's gone here, and now he's going to the back entrance, the operator said, okay, you don't have to follow him everywhere. So at that point, wherever he's followed, which was past that T-junction to go to the back entrance, which was, I know, from the L over here, and then Trayvon's apartment's right there, he was going to head back up to the T-junction, already lost Trayvon, and so at that point, the reason why none of what Zimmerman just did has any bearing on what happened to Trayvon at all. If you're a security or watch captain, that's your job to try to help your community figure out what's going on. There's no racial profiling. Trayvon had odd behavior, regardless of however you want to put it, and people want to just say, oh,
come on, we heard it. These assholes.
Yeah. And these assholes are people who break in. It doesn't have to do with anybody's particular color. He's tired of having people breaking into their apartments. As a matter of fact, one of the witnesses that helped testify on Zimmerman's behalf on how good of a watch captain he is was also black. So the guy is not speaking from racial terms. He's speaking of, I want to protect my neighborhood, and I'm tired of people getting away with breaking into our neighborhood. And Trayvon decides, which that Rachel screwed up on, poor Pearson Morgan, thought the dude was a homosexual predator. And I guess he wanted to get, according to her, the whoop ass on. Could have already gone home. Okay? People say, oh, Zimmerman shouldn't have gotten out of trouble. He's a watch captain. That's the job to protect, to help the police to clean his neighborhood up and try to bring down the crime rate and the break-ins that were occurring. There is no fault in any of that. That's why we have watch captains and neighborhood watches that are sanctioned by our counties. And why did Trayvon come back around? Trayvon's actions and his actions alone are what put him into it, because if Trayvon could have easily approached Zimmerman, if they were pissed at him, let's just say Trayvon was pissed at him. One, Trayvon decided to go back and find Zimmerman. He was already lost. Zimmerman lost. So Trayvon decides to go and find Zimmerman to confront him. That's number one. Number two, instead of saying anything, the verbal testimony that we have was, all we heard was one sentence coming out of Zimmerman: "Hey, what's your problem?" And then gets hit. Trayvon could have easily just had a calmer attitude and said, if he was pissed about why he was being watched earlier.
With all due respect, I'm not, being young enough to remember being 17, I'm not going to accuse 17-year-olds of having the most calm, rational, just saying, That's...
But my point of it is, instead of doing that and saying, yeah, man, I live down here, and he could have said, hey, man, why why are you in your truck? You creepy ass, whatever, looking at me. And said, George said, hey, I'm the watch captain. We've had a lot of break-ins. I'm just trying. And then I'm sure they would have said, well, you live here.
Well, that's the other thing. Trayvon really didn't live there. He was there. He was there while he was suspended.
Right.
To basically
his father's girlfriend, right? That's his father's residence or something.
Yeah.
But he could have just said, yeah, I'm staying.
And admittedly, that could have been why he was looking around at places. He might have gotten turned around. I mean, it's just.
He was there long enough. He was there, according to what we know, long enough because according to Rachel, he took a shortcut to try to get in. Which, if it's raining, I'd get the shortcut. But my thing of it is if it's raining, I'm heading home as fast as I can freaking go. I don't want to get wet. I'm not going to sit out there looking at other damn houses and crap. He obviously knew where the shortcut was because if you see where the 7-Eleven is and how he went through that shortcut.
I hate to say it, but the more we learn about Trayvon and the more we look into his temper and the more we look into reasons he was suspended and all the other shit, I see a lot of myself in him. Young, angry, hasn't really calmed down yet. It's no guarantee he was going to grow up to be a thug of any kind. It's just he was young, he was angry. And I can, as somebody who was once that person and remembers that mentality, I guarantee you in his eye he was doing justice when he came back. He was pissed. Something pissed him off.
I've had my share of confrontations and things. But I don't ever remember myself as a teenager immediately wanting to resort to let's just fight it out.
I in my youth I was that asshole. So I
understand. Obviously, get you killed. That.
There were a couple of times where that really could have happened. I kind of lucked out.
So. Instead of just saying, yeah, I'm no freaking watch captain, this and that, they could have just settled it. And I believe, like you point out, he's 17. Well, he starts pounding on Zimmerman, and the rest is history. But it's really solely Trayvon's actions. Now I know other people on the left will go, they harp on how unfair it is because now there was a firearm involved, there was just fists and all that. That's the point. Zimmerman got hit enough.
And with all fairness, if the argument the nation was having was where is the line between fear and over excessive force, if that was the argument we were having, that was the philosophical argument we were having, that is a philosophical argument to have. Where is that line? How in danger does your life have to be before taking a life? That would be a valid argument, and I would not fault this country for having it. It's one we should have every so often. But that's not the argument we're having.
Well, what I'm saying, what it is though, like what just happened in Houston. There was a car accident, and a black lady shot a white guy from the seat of her. She was the driver in her car, just shot him through her. I have to reread the report. I don't know if the window was up or down, but shot the guy. And her story is that they got in an accident. The guy was pissed at her for hitting, and she says that he walked up to her car, hit the car, and was pounding on the car, and she shot him from her car. To me, if you're in the freaking car, the guy's not getting in. That to me, you're talking about excessive. Excessive.
Well, and that just proves that white people can shoot more people than black people.
and the thing of it is that other witnesses say he was just trying to collect insurance information. So we'll have to see how that trial goes.
Well, okay, but to clarify on your two examples you're giving there, that's the same. That's at the core of the debate we should be having as a country. Where is that line in which you are justified to bring a firearm in to shoot at somebody? Is it perceived psychological fear, which is the scenario you were naming? Someone's in a vehicle, but they're in a vehicle. They can roll up their window. Now, it's another thing if somebody is pounding on the glass, trying to break the window, you're basically breaking your car down. is shoot their ass.
Break your car down.
Yeah, shoot, and that actually happened not too long ago. And there were some women in danger in that respect, and basically it was vehicular manslaughter, but they were not charged on that because they had to use their vehicle as a gun, or he was going to break through their glass.
Sure. My point of that story was about where are the lines, where are the lines, drawn on what we, but that point about having a debate is actually done in the courtrooms, because they'll have their day in court and a jury will decide was it too excessive or not. And I think that bar, those outcomes help write laws, by the way.
And they should, and that's why we should have courts, and we should have trials by jury, and we should retry these laws every so often. I agree with that adamantly. But one of the real bad things about the way this is being charged and turned into a race issue and other things is it's creating the double whammy of harm. That there are now a bunch of people out of ignorance through hate mongers in the country who are convinced that they will not receive justice in a court of law, and therefore will not go through this process and will just take justice into their own hand, and then manslaughter will result that didn't need to result. No, and that's a trifold hurt. It hurts society. It hurts the person who was fear-mongered into committing manslaughter they wouldn't have otherwise. It hurts other people. No, this is wrong all around.
Yeah, and the thing, but the end story is it is terribly screwed up and extremely tragic that it happened.
Well, but that's the other thing here. The average person.
It sucks that it had to.
No, and this is why
because I do. I mean,
my official philosophy.
His parents now have a loss that
honestly, here's what's going to happen, assuming somebody doesn't go to vigilante justice and kill George Zimmerman. His lawyer's going to take a case against NBC and everyone else that's poured gasoline on this bullshit.
Because they.
I know that's going to pay for the attorney's fees. Zimmerman may get some additional revenue out of that, but I guarantee you he's never going to see a penny of it. Trayvon's family is going to win in civil court because they have been deprived of their loved one, and every penny of that excess that doesn't go to Zimmerman's attorneys is going to go to Trayvon's family. That's the way that is going to work out.
If it ended up, because from any money that he gains, and let's say that the Martin family is able to recoup, like you're talking about the gains that he gets from these libel suits, I think is perfect. He doesn't lose nor gain anything monetarily.
And that money will never
to recuperate. The best they can get monetarily.
And let's be frank for a moment. That money will never make Trayvon's family whole.
No.
Ever.
I'm saying it is their loss. Exactly. Right? Their loss. You can't. It's. There's no, it's
well, see, here's the thing. Like I said, I was a upscallion like Trayvon. It's one of the reasons why, and I'm not bad in a fight. It's one of the reasons I prefer to handle people by bludgeoning the ever crap out of them, but not killing them. I'll break your leg, I'll break your kneecap, I will incapacitate you. It's not difficult to do if you know how to, but I prefer not to shoot you, because even if I shoot to wound, bullets have a way of traveling around, and it's very difficult to shoot to wound.
Especially if you're a firearm, you wouldn't train with firearms. You remember, I think you and I, we were talking about firearms, how I was talking about different echelons of licenses. And we should ensue more practice, because I disagree with it. I think it was a Texas law that wanted to shorten classes.
Yes.
I think we should have more classes and more training, because yes, see, I want to arm and help individuals get there, but I also want you to be trained. I want to. It's a hell of a. It's a right, number one in the Constitution. But within the states...
Well, it's a right within the
states.
Fed that the Fed can't abolish it, but the states can regulate the shit out of it.
Right. And I feel the states should not discourage, but encourage through in our school system or a certain caliber or whatever, that requires you to have more training. You need to prove your proficiency in training. Because let's just say, which Zimmerman did not have his firearm pulled. It was pulled when Trayvon was on top, but he had a 9mm. Man, that let's say shot for fire, and there's homes there. Oh my God, I don't even want to think of projectiles going through homes and getting innocent bystanders or other children and adults.
Well, and he was armed at the suggestion of the police.
So.
And honestly, when it comes to firearm discharge, I personally think part of responsible firearm discharge is understanding the finality. Even if you're intending to shoot to wound, you are accepting the possibility of committing the murder or manslaughter or taking a life in defense. And that should never be taken lightly. You should understand the finality of you are cutting off every other avenue.
Yes, the responsibility you carry with it, which is why I was really against this. The Texas laws to shorten classes. We need to go the other direction and say, hey, maybe the first class, but you need to have proficiency exams yearly, or even twice a year. But
on that aspect, you're preaching to the choir, because I was taught firearms by an old coot who handed me a weapon in a room that there was nothing I didn't want destroyed, and the first lesson was, okay, never point this thing at anything you don't want to destroy, and then made me aim it. I'm like, but there isn't anywhere in this fucking room I can point at, you asshole. It's like...
But we'll conclude the Zimmerman thing in that you hit it on the nail in your video, that it sickens me that the race baiters are out there being racists themselves.
Did you hear what
causing violence? Like now I'm reading like Hispanics are getting beaten up and joggers are getting beaten up. I mean, now you're just creating the inverse racism.
At one point during the whole hoopla, the New Black Panthers put a bounty on Zimmerman's head. They basically wanted somebody to kill him, and I think that's still outstanding. I don't know if it is. But have you heard the latest grand bullshit that's come out of this?
No.
Okay,
I don't know.
Oh, you're going to love this. Okay. We think Florida and all stand your ground, keeping in mind that stand your ground was in no way part of this case, but we think Florida and any state that has a stand your ground law is racist. It proves they hate black people. That's their argument. Okay, so their grand solution to this is that all black people should boycott these states.
Well,
I'm like, does that make any damn sense at all? I have to, so you think they hate black people, so you want black people to stay away from them.
Yeah, I mean, I know this has been repeated over and over by the right, but there is validity in saying how many deaths and children's deaths, like when they were talking about in Chicago, and around the nation, black on black crimes, that if it's good
you know what, it's
why are you so caught up on a self-defense case that you have a tremendous amount of clear factual evidence to tell you what happened versus flat out aggression that is happening? Now, you know what? Texas has had real bad hate crimes. I forget the name of the fellow who was dragged by a
was that in Texas or Alabama? I can't remember.
That was in Texas.
Yeah, no, and I'm not gonna.
Have a field day with an individual.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not gonna.
Go have a field day with an individual.
I'm not gonna sit here and claim that there isn't still people who, like, their forebrain's been removed and they've joined something along the lines of the KKK and they're promoting this bullshit. And I'm like, and you know what? I'm with you. Those people, oh, please, for the love of the gods, throw them under the jail. You know what? Can I pull the lever on the electric chair, please? Please, can I?
There's your hate crime, especially because there are hate crimes out there that are solely motivated for whether it's attacking a person for their skin color or their sexual orientation or they're too short or tall, or whatever.
But let's be honest. There are hate crimes perpetrated every which way you can have a relation between bullshit. There's hate crimes that are perpetrated for, especially on the whole race sense. Well, you ain't pure enough. You mixed. There's you're the wrong race.
Oh, you just reminded me of something about you're not black enough. I am so sick of it. I am so sick of hearing. It's just man. I was success. I was success.
And
But he has black family members, and his family members and his extended family from his wife's side. Oh no, you're a sellout. They call him a sellout for being an attorney. What? So you're telling me black isn't really a skin color? You're telling me black is just a way of life at that point? So then you're not even racist at that point. So you can't even use a racist argument. I just don't.
Well, okay. I figured out a long time ago, and this is why I will study this stuff as a purely intellectual point of view, which is just to try and understand the ground rules of the bigotry. Just to understand it. But at the end of the day, bigotry in all forms, regardless of which side and who's against who and yada, it has never made any damn sense. It's a rule book that contradicts itself for the sake of rallying bigotry and hate. It doesn't matter if it's people being Nazis, if it's people being the KKK, if it's people being the more self-hating parts of the NAACP and New Black Panthers. It doesn't matter. It's a rule book that contradicts itself, fights itself, and it's about the thing. It's about the power and the separation and the division and the keeping all of us hating each other just because of the power that's in that.
And internally, even if we were to just say, okay, from the what is the word I'm looking for?
Well, and I was very clear.
From the insiders, the race insiders, even internally within like a demographic, it's a race to the least common denominator. And I thought in America we want to have equal opportunities and try to get everybody to be the best consumer and producer that they want to be, right?
What country are you living in?
The race to the bottom. Why is it the race to the bottom? And if one black is closer to the bottom than another black, the one farthest or farther away from the bottom is a sellout, all the way down to the chain. And they cause these internal battles, and they're profiting on this crap, which is infuriating.
Well, and again, I want to make it clear, because there are chapters of the NAACP and the Black Panthers who are as infuriated about that as you and I are. And likewise, there are chapters of those organizations that are promoting the shit out of that because there's power in it. It's sad. It just, at the end of the day, when somebody comes to you to sell legitimate hate crimes and legitimate bullshit, oh yes, scream to the frickin' hill. But on the same token, the people who are trying to manufacture it just to divide us should be equally screamed against, because they're undermining any legitimate stopping. They're literally trying to bring back the stuff we all know is just wrong and doesn't belong on this orb.
Right. No, here we go. Here it is. Texas executes man in race-motivated dragging death.
Good.
Texas executed a white supremacist on Wednesday, convicted of, this was back in 2011, of helping to kill a black man by dragging him behind a truck in what some call the most notorious race crime post-civil rights era.
Yeah, and,
So,
I'm usually not a fan of the death penalty, but the three exceptions I will never object to are like the situation you're talking about, where it's like, we can't rehabilitate you. You're just, I don't, there's nothing we can do. If you don't get it at this point, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, his name was James Bird. So now, there you go. There's your. But Zimmerman and this. Oh man, you know. Oh, and that was what I was saying. We're going to bring up the second degree thing was because, if you recall, the local prosecution let Zimmerman go, and then the state had to get involved. Remember, they had to find the prosecution, and I think they fired the first one, or relieved the first prosecutor. And the whole second degree thing was to perpetuate, essentially, he's a racist, because they wanted to use the malice of intent.
Yeah, but like I said, it was clear from the case, everything presented, the second degree charges were political.
Even on manslaughter, that's why they tried to bring them. He still would have walked, even on just manslaughter.
Well, no. Here's the thing. But given that and I'm a huge fan of, if a human being dies, it doesn't matter if it's self-defense. Self-defense is your defense before the jury. But you will be charged with manslaughter, and the jury either believes you were in mortal fear for your life and so justified in self-defense. If it's anything short of that burden, if that burden is not met, if the jury doesn't buy it, you are guilty of manslaughter. You may not have intended, but that's what manslaughter is.
That's drawing the line of exactly. That's what's drawing the line we're talking about. Where is the line crossed, and the jury will decide that for you. Now, in this case, though, the process is that let's say you have a self-defense case. If the local police listen to your story, and they're going to do their job, right? They're going to do their job and go ask witnesses and all that, which they did. The local police did in the case of Zimmerman. And they interrogated Zimmerman, I think 3 times or something like that, and got a story, and then finally concluded, no, the district attorney there, the local district attorney, no, we don't. We believe his story. Everything checks out. He is a free man in defense, so he didn't have to go to trial because they didn't decide to prosecute. So there's that. You're getting that logical step that has to progress before you get to the court. So you're already checked out by the police. Now, if the police don't believe you, and your story is shady or you're inconsistent, they're likely then they're going to charge you on suspicion and then.
Well, and as the news momentum began to build around this, the cameras started finding people who said, no, we tried to tell the police something different, and so on and so forth. And the reality is, I'm a huge fan of when a life is lost. Why it's a burden on the taxpayer. It's just better for all involved. Arrest, charge, have the trial.
All right, but the police have to do the due process.
Yeah, I agree. But if
they did the due process and they didn't want to charge you because everything checked out. That's my point.
Yeah.
Now, if something doesn't check out, then they're going to arrest you.
I understand where you're going, and yeah, it's a burden on the thing, and the reality is everything started shaking out.
Proven guilty in this country.
I know, but the issue was never in dispute. Rather, he had killed a person. That was never in dispute. He didn't say, "Oh no,
sure.
Yeah, the gun just went off," and no, that was never.
You're getting somebody to pay some sort of, no matter. Because a life was lost, you want somebody to pay in some way criminal.
No. I think because of the way, I mean, this case is actually a perfect example of how when the police do their due diligence and they don't feel there's a case, it gets out of hand, and now it doesn't matter. People will always be convinced until the day Zimmerman dies that he got off on a technicality, on something else. Now, that's partly because of the media, but on the other side, if I guarantee you...
Those are the facts.
I know, but it you know what? Ignorance considers itself an expert. It always has. Where if the procedure is arrest, and if you don't dispute that the life was taken, that we should at least have some form of trial to have the justification for the defense. It's like, because you basically confess to something that can be manslaughter. And
Okay,
so
you're saying that even if it's justifiable defense in the cop, and I mean by the laws within the states, it's saying then you get to walk. You don't go to trial. I mean, you'd have to change. You're asking to change the law to say because you admitted to you took a life, even if it's in defense, it merits the district attorney by law to take the case so that you do go to trial.
Okay, here's where I'm gray on this. Did the cops choose not to pursue it, or did the district attorney choose not to pursue it?
No, the local cops did a thorough investigation. There was 3 interrogations. They were collecting evidence. They went, and this was over a pretty good time span. And they questioned witnesses. And Zimmerman couldn't go. I remember Zimmerman couldn't go anywhere because the cops kept tabs on him. And the local prosecution decided no, it was valid and there was not enough to take the case.
Okay, that's the burden I'm asking for. Basically, you have to go all the way through to the moment where a trial would start. Okay.
I see your point. Yeah.
Because especially when a life is lost, no. Even if you think there's no validity, take it all the way to that last step.
Yeah, they have to present all evidence to the district attorney or the local you would say prosecution, and they have to see if they can prosecute. They decided they couldn't, and so that's why the outrage came, and the state of Florida was pressured.
This entire thing was political from the word go, and that's what scares the shit out of me, to be quite honest, because why there's a bunch of people who are happy that you could apply political pressure to make this into this grand hoopla. It scares the shit out of me, because this can be used to make anything this. Anything. It's like, oh yeah, there's no evidence, there's nothing to do anything, this isn't what happened, but because enough of the mob bitches, we're going to do this. That is not the country anybody wants to live in, regardless of your ancestry, your skin color. You do not want to be tried in the court of public opinion on every little no. Oh, God's no.
I mean, now the current prosecution is actually going to probably have to defend themselves against a whistleblower, and the prosecution was changed to try to meet this. To try to meet the pressure that was given to the Florida states. The state essentially, basically told the local Sanford prosecution that y'all are full of it. We think that there's something here, and we're going to take it. And they did. And the rest is history. But just know how shady it was, and even evidence from local police saying that there was pressure brought to bear on it when they already did their due process. They already diligently did their due process, checked out witnesses and everything, and decided that they didn't have enough to prosecute. So that's why it was a trial that most people and experts say should have never gone to trial. It was a wrong avenue that was used for venting of gun control and racial, warfare, whatever it was, for lack of better words.
I still don't. It's just the ignorance at all on all sides. It doesn't matter whether people were supporting George Zimmerman or Trayvon. Very few people have been arguing this case based on what actually happened. They've been arguing it based on whatever political motivated agenda in the trial of John Q. Public was told to them. Oh, this means this means that means like.
Well, the Florida, those prosecutors are going to have to defend themselves now. The tide has turned where now too many whistleblowers are coming out and saying, "What the hell," and this and that. And the thing is, to satisfy your concerns, the local police and justice departments did their job. and that's why.
But when you live in a country where they do their job, everything's done by the book, everything's good, justice is done, and then the mob stands up through the media and the federal authority or the state authority and comes in and says, no, the facts be damned, we want to do this.
Okay, right. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Let's be dead honest.
But I thought you were still on your. I thought you were still on your thing of saying you're wanting to make sure, because it was a loss of life, that it was properly vetted. I thought that's where you were coming from.
Well, yeah, no, that I agree should happen every time, and that's why we were bringing that up, and it was like that was done. But nobody in the court of public opinion is aware of that. I mean, let's be honest, we don't exactly.
I mean, that's how it went down.
Yes, but that requires you to read and actually not listen to NBC or Fox or CNN and actually understand fundamentally how our justice system works. Just saying,
And see, I can see. I mean, totally. It's like, man, you're a parent, and you're like, what the hell? It is a situation that it just. There's just no words to describe how unfortunate, crappy. I don't have a word.
It should horrify and terrify all 300 and approximately 20 million people in this country that this happened.
Yes, but it did happen, and we can't take it back, and we can never. It can't be undone. But we also shouldn't, like you're saying, make something out of this loss that it's not, and further cause harm in the current crimes that are happening in rebellion to that don't need the.
Hold that thought for 1 second. I gotta put a cut in. Okay. No, I agree with you. We shouldn't be done. But at this point, ignorance has gripped the nation, and it's the mob John Q version of the facts, not what actually happened that is in the common vernacular at this point.
Yeah. The thing.
I mean, if you took a random sampling of the American people right now, what they believe this case is a white, like Ku Klux Klan-like man found a black teenager who was harmless and of no threat to anybody, just going about his business with a pack of Skittles, and decided, oh, he must be up to no good, bang, bang. That is what the average American thinks this case is.
At first, that's what I thought happened. At first, I was like, oh my God, I thought, at first, because I had the news at first telling me that, and then you start reading, you're like, oh well, that's not what happened. If you read what the actual Sanford police was saying, all this other stuff, but when I first read it, I was like, oh shit.
But is the human mentality verify the facts, or oh, they told me this horrible thing happened, let's start writing the angry letters? I mean, within a few weeks of this happening, city councilman, chief of police, everybody's getting angry letters from Canada. It's like, you racist bastards. It's just, they were like, how do I react to this?
And the root, like I said, is getting back to the gun control, because to many who would be, don't like the outcome of this case, is not at core rooted in the racist part of it. Is in the core of, this is a man who was carrying a firearm that the result of which a 17-year-old is now dead, and
which should never be forgotten.
You said Canada and internationally, they're a lot of Europeans, this is totally foreign to them. That wow, you're okay. You're number one, you're concealed carry. And that's a lot. Now, of course, not in all of Europe. I know Switzerland is different and things like that. But there are people that have that ideology. That, like I said when we started, that there is the moderates. I don't even want to use the word more moderate, but for the less thinking, any gun outside of the home is unnecessary. And then there's the even further left of that, no gun is necessary at all. Solely rely on law enforcement. And so much of when this debate gets heated and I read comments or things on forums, their core is rooted not in the race aspect, but in the gun control aspect of it.
I found them rooted in both.
They don't like the idea of him killing. Well, I'm just saying things that I was reading that if you were watching, like people, if they weren't stuck on stupid sound bites and racial diatribes and things like that, their core of it was like they're getting at how Zimmerman had a firearm, and the result of which we have now a loss of function shooting. But we, in this country, that's carrying firearms and defense is something, of course everybody knows that I'm for, is part of our makeup. But I think left and right, Zimmerman was doing his duty as someone who was part of the neighborhood watch. Whether you're on duty or not, I can tell you, Section 7, they're always diligent. And they've done a very good job in keeping the crime rate down, by the way, and doing their watch and profiling everybody who's suspicious. You do your thing, because when you live there and it's your home and your neighborhood and your friends that are there that you go and barbecue with and stuff like that, and it's the same friends that come and tell you that, man, my son, they took my son's toys.
Yeah, but I want to be very clear, and this is one of the reasons I know you sit on an HOA, but honestly, HOAs kind of wig me out. But then again, I'm here where they're the Gestapo, and
that's why I love the HOA so much.
Yeah. But here's the thing: it's the moment that well-intentioned looking out for each other crosses the line into xeno-isolationism, it becomes just as destructive as what it's fighting against.
In our history of the neighborhood, it typically faded when crime faded, and then it would be forgotten. Like I said, when I first started, we had terrible crime or gang crime type problems, and then we were able to win against that. And then there was really very little activity, and then people. Yeah,
but see, I'm old school. I'm old school on that shit.
And then crime would do something else, and then people get active, right? And
I'm old school on that shit. I refuse to let the fact that there are bad people in the world make me afraid of the world. Because there will always be bad people in the world. It's like the moment you let those bad people make you afraid of the world.
Watch is not fear. You're just wanting to prevent the damn thing.
But like I said, it's that fine line. It's that balancing effort between we don't know who they are. They must be evil, And I've seen neighborhood watches that become that xenophobic thing, and you know what I'm talking about.
And clearly, though, he's talking on the phone. He didn't have his firearm drawn because he got hit. The dude got. So clearly, he doesn't even have a firearm drawn to fire in a case of a strike. So he's not walking around with it unholstered. He's already scared because he doesn't want to be.
This is Bertha. I use Bertha.
What was that?
I was pretending like I had a gun, calling him Bertha and shit. That's what people think happened.
He's scared because he doesn't want to meet the cops or give out his information because he doesn't know what Trayvon was. So he's already under fear, and he's walking back to his truck. And we already know the gun that his firearm is not drawn there, even though he's under fear. So he's using good judgment too, because I do know where you're talking about people get overzealous, they'll start unholstered, which is you're already in some clause violation.
And you know what? I can't stand that. That's the reverse problem of what we got going on here, and that's a problem too. It's if that was the scenario here, I'd be like, okay, this was xenophobia that got a kid killed, and that would be manslaughter. That would be manslaughter. That would not have been self-defense.
By doing that on, by those actions. But he didn't have it. He had it. It was holstered in the back, and even though he's under fear, he sees a guy and says, "What's your problem?" He gets hit. He gets hit again. They go down. Obviously, from what witnesses are saying, the fight went on for quite a while. Because seconds are quite long. If anybody's been held up, I've been held up before. Seconds are an eternity when you're.
In all fairness, okay. I don't know how experienced with this the average person is, and I'm getting a little bit more into my some of the scuffs I've gotten in that I really want to, but I'm going to tell you point blank. You can have a person's life in your hands in less than 10 seconds. It doesn't take very long. So people who want to argue time factor and other things, I will tell you point blank. If you have even a moderate amount of strength and a moderate amount of rage, you can have somebody's life in your hands in a very, very short period of time. And that's like I said, I got lucky, because the reality is, if probably there's been a couple of times where some of my actions, I could have been Trayvon if they'd been armed. I'm very aware of that fact.
Yeah. So I mean, to conclude, all these people are inciting racism. The real thing it is that they should look at themselves in the mirror before they start calling people racists and profilers. Before, look at yourself before you start throwing those words out, which are so easy nowadays. Because many people don't.
Well, because they're politically correct right now. Oh, they were racist. Oh, that explains it all. That's what scares me. In today's world, it is politically correct to take a human being and strip away everything they've ever done, their education, their accomplishments, everything, and just make it all about apparent ethnicity, which is all bullshit to begin with. And I'm like, when you approach the world from that mindset, well, of course that's the source of everything. You stripped away everything else, know.
Wasn't Trayvon like a really good football player at his high school?
Well, he'd actually quit football. Apparently,
I thought he was still.
No. And the time leading up to this, Trayvon very much got on the wrong path. He was actually suspended numerous times from school for both theft and what, if it had gone to criminal court, would have been assault.
Yeah, I heard that.
He had quit football. He was more interested in other things at the time. And again, this is no guarantee that that there's people who are using those facts to try and demonize Trayvon, and I'm like, I take offense to that just as much, because
his past is not. I'm not really worried about. The past to me is unnecessary. Go ahead, I interrupt.
Well, it's like, because everybody gets off track at one point or another. I've been off track. I'm okay now. I had people to put me back on track. I wish Trayvon my personal wish for Trayvon would have been that he'd had a few more people in his life to help tow him back on track, because it's clear he wasn't surrounded by as many of those as would have been ideal. But that's neither here nor there. There's people who do it just fine without anybody helping them. Likewise, there's people who, with all the right people around them, never come back. And that's a neither here nor there. And really, that's irrelevant to this case, because the only issue was, at the time of that final confrontation, was Zimmerman in sufficient danger and fear for his life to justify pulling his firearm? And that should be the only issue here.
I go before that, which 5 of the jurors have come out and clearly state what was on there, which was my thing too, was that he lost Trayvon. He was gone. That was it. And heading back to his truck. That could have been the end of the entire night right there. I mean, I don't
and everybody
Zimmerman because he's doing his thing.
And everybody would have been.
And he's on the phone with the 911 operator doing his thing, trying to protect his thing, and walking back to his truck. The whole thing could have ended right there. And I'm wondering, looking at Rachel on the CNN thing, Piers Morgan, if she was helping. You were saying he's a 17-year-old, and you were kind of like that and would get aggressive, because the way she was talking about putting whoop ass, and the guy may have been gay, predator, or some shit like that. Did that not further encourage the aggression by her being on the phone and putting those suggestions in Trayvon's head to make him turn around or sneak around and come back to finally culminate to a punch hitting Zimmerman?
You want my honest assessment of what I think happened here? And I agree with you. Everybody, including the nation as a whole, would have been better off. But what I honestly think happened here, because at one point they were staring at each other, and at one point kind of being egged on by the 911 operator, Zimmerman was following Trayvon. And as someone who was once young and angry and, really on the wrong side of things, I will admit it. Here's the mentality that develops in your head on that. I am 100% certain that Trayvon knew Zimmerman was following him at some point. And he probably lost him on purpose. And then he was angry about it. He was angry about the fact that it had happened, and he decided he was going to do something about it. And I guarantee you that's where his head was at. He was not, he's like, if only he'd been calm. I guarantee you, as somebody who once had this temper, still has it, but has it under control now, he was not thinking with that mind. He was thinking with, this asshole was following me. I gotta show him. That was his mentality. And that's exactly what he went out to go do.
A good fighter too, because Zimmerman wasn't as big as he is now back then, but it probably took him down with that hit.
No, really. And I'm.
Because I'm trying to think.
All these.
I'm in a situation that even if someone strikes me, I don't know. I'm thinking how I would behave. I don't know. So I don't know.
It's you can't even predict how you're going to react till you're in that situation. Like I said, I was lucky and I guarantee you that's where Trayvon. I don't think he really intended to, probably kill Zimmerman. But on the same token, when you're enraged like that, I'm gonna tell you point blank, it feels good. Just
and the other neighbor, the neighbor that was out there. That Zimmerman said, hey, help, and the guy said, I'll call the police. He says, no, help. If that neighbor, because I've done that before, I've broken into fights. Now, I know you take a risk.
Yeah, you take a risk of getting drugged into it by both people.
And you actually just put your presence there. So let's say you walk up to him 2 feet away and, hey, stop, hey, stop. That probably also could have helped
yes.
Avoided the death. I guarantee you that had that witness walked out there, you don't even have to touch them or I've separated several fights, people I don't know and strangers like that. But just you walk up. The dynamic of the mentality of the
even the simple words, you've won, stop. And it's it's the psychological. Oh yeah, I have won.
Okay. Stop this psychological. I wish that witness would have done that.
Yeah. Well, but it's it's the hands off, not my problem. I'm not getting involved mentality. So it's the person I am now because I've been that person, because I was that angry person. Whenever I see something like that going on, and I honestly know what's going on from firsthand experience, I'm running over there to do just that, to help keep somebody from going too far. Because
exactly, I know. I've seen freaking crazy fights. Like one was over I think the girl cheated, and these two dudes went freaking. It was in a restaurant, and these two dudes went on the floor, and tables went freaking flying, and they were rough and tumble. And there was a freaking sheriff in there. This is another thing that I think is a complete side note. I don't think that law enforcement should be able to allow themselves to be active when they're overweight, because this sheriff was overweight and he lost his breath. He fell on the floor himself. He was just so overweight he couldn't handle the situation. So we were got up to
I don't care about them being overweight, but they need to be able to handle the situation. It's part of the job.
Okay, fit. They need to be fit. Maybe not overweight is the wrong word. They need to be fit.
They need to be fit enough to handle the situation.
Yeah, I mean, because damn, and these guys, he could not. He was out of breath. He couldn't control them before he brought them. And this is in Texas, so those guys, I don't know if they were carrying or not, but they could have been. But by getting and involving and saying stop, and I put my hands on their side of their, hey, I didn't use force. And say, hey man, cut the bullshit. Like I said, bullshit. And it changed. It changes their psyche. When there's someone there close enough, say, hey, quit the bullshit.
And let's be honest, most such confrontations of this type, there's a reason we have Crimes of Passion on the book, because they're just that. People are enraged. They're not themselves at the moment. They are themselves, but they're not themselves. They're in an altered state, for lack of a better word. And really inserting a neutral third party just to shock them for a moment alters that altered state. It kind of snaps them out of it, even if only for a second. And really that second is all it takes.
That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes. Exactly.
Now, I guarantee you, had that been the particular outcome of this night, unfortunately, given that the cops had already been called and everything else, Trayvon would have gone to jail and he would have been charged with assault. And, which...
And he'd be alive!
Yeah, but again, I'm not... who I'm most annoyed at is, I'm annoyed at the fact that Trayvon's dead. I'm annoyed at the people who turn this into something that isn't. And I'm kind of annoyed that the situation went the direction that it did. It's hindsight's 2020. It's easy. It's easy in hindsight to go, well, the operator shouldn't have done this. Blah shouldn't have done that. Blah shouldn't. It's easy to do that, and that's not what I'm trying to do. It's just it was almost backed down. It's like I understand why Trayvon reacted the way he did when they met each other again. I really do. So I feel very sorry that the result was the result, because it's something that really didn't need to happen. But it wasn't racial. It was a byproduct of our society is our society, and it's.
And I bet you if it happened in daylight, it probably wouldn't have occurred that way either. I think.
Well, or if Trayvon had been a kid who that was his regular neighborhood all the time, he would have known that there had been robberies going on, that there's he would have known this is the watch. He would have known all these things, and he wouldn't have been so enraged over it. This was all stuff Trayvon didn't know. It's like, I'm telling you, it's every one of the instances where I wound up in that mindset and got angry, it's because I was ignorant and didn't know what was going on, and I perceived something that wasn't there.
Sure.
But it's a bunch of things on all sides, but just that should be our focus in this case. What were those things? How do we stop those things from creating situations like this again? Because just dealing with it in the legalities, but also why did this happen? What were all the steps that led up to? How could things have been handled differently? That should be the eye with which you look at things like this. Not, let's get angry, no. Let's figure out how to prevent this shit from happening. Let's figure out how to find these lines. Like we're saying, the witness should have come over and broke it up. There's
and maybe counties. I'm thinking of something because I'm trying to think in that situation. To give people who want to win, because many people are angry because you can't control that situation, and we're upset about it because it's something that you want to assign blame somewhere, but we can't. It's like we want to be able to release it.
And that's what's most infuriating about it, because reality is everybody was really doing the right thing, yet a tragedy occurred.
Sure, and I'm thinking, because I'm just thinking on a side note here, because
or at least not the wrong thing.
Different watches work with local law enforcement, and maybe each person who participates in a neighborhood watch or it's a citizen non-officer or even off-duty, I'm trying to say when they're not an officer, whether they're off-duty or on duty, but it's like a civilian citizen, non-law enforcement, maybe wear something that the county decides to come up with that designates them, oh yeah, these are like, security duties.
Well, but that would have done nothing in this case.
He's walking around with a fluorescent thing, or something, I don't know, that says, that I am, whether you're on duty or not, you wear it, and that would say to somebody, when it's dark, you can't see, oh, I'm a security entity here.
Well, yeah,
I don't know if that would have changed.
That would have changed nothing in this case, because since this wasn't Trayvon's all year round neighborhood, it would have just been, what's that sparkly thing? Because it's not like that would be to a standard. I mean, I've seen some cop cars traveling around this nation where I'm like, I like, y'all chose to make your cop, because they were like completely non-standard. It's like some like, it's going to have a different psychological reaction. People aren't going to realize this is a cop. I'm like, what the hell are you idiots doing? Whether you love or hate cops, that's the wrong approach for your police authority, because it's just, people are questioning.
Yeah. And clearly, in some of these riots that I've seen, perpetrated by all walks of life, lots of police property was destroyed. So clearly there is a venting
based on
a rebellious, what's the word I'm looking for?
And you know what?
Venting towards authority, law enforcement authority, that there's
there's a venting against
a frustration, I guess.
There's a venting against the state of Florida. There's a venting against law enforcement in general, but. And here's the deal. I would believe all of that is 100% justified. It's the public perception of what happened was what actually happened. But the public perception versus what actually happened are two different universes at this point. And that's the real tragedy here, because it's just more innocence. We already have... There are really three victims of the Trayvon case, and this is going to piss a lot of people off. The obvious victim is Trayvon Martin. Okay? There's no getting around the fact that Trayvon Martin is an unfortunate victim of the Zimmerman-Trayvon confrontation. Okay? The next victim is Sanford and indirectly Florida. The third victim, actually there's four victims. The third victim is the American people, and that they have been dragged into ignorance and everything else. And the fourth one's going to piss people off, but indirectly, George Zimmerman is also a victim of the wave that has been created by the third victim.
He's never going to have a normal life for a long time, man. Well... yeah, it'll be a long while. What
I am hoping doesn't happen, because there are a lot of people standing up hate-mongering right now, calling for the murder of George Zimmerman. If you're even thinking about...
You're even threatening jurors,
Yeah. First off...
You're not going to stay anonymous for long or something?
Yeah. First off, any of y'all who are letting this hate wrap you into this, please do not let these hate mongers turn you into another victim. Please. These are fellow innocent people. They are fellow Trayvons, unfortunately. We don't need more people killed by this. God dang it. And it's same thing all around. It's just yeah. And anybody who's standing up trying to still do this hate, really what I hope happens is about a few months from now, the nation regains its sanity, and they remember all the news organizations and all the politicians and all the grandstanders who stood up and said, hate one another. and they treat them like that. They go, I remember you. You're the one who told me to hate my fellow citizens. I know what you sell. They're not. I wish, but that's not what's going to happen. No, we're going to stay galvanized over this. 20 years from now, it'll be, which side of this were you on?
Yeah, you know that's coming. Yeah.
All right.
Man. We'll call it quits, and then we'll start back up on Tuesday and hit a lot of this good stuff you've got here on Facebook and Tech.
Do you want to, before we end this, do you want to make a comment on the case we should be paying attention to, that Facebook one?
No, we'll do it on Tuesday.
Okay. So that's, yeah, peace out all. You know what? Use the PM system, send your hate mail. I'll be happy to reply. Oh, no, I've gotten some. It's about a 50-50 split. About half are like, glad you said it. The other half are like, just, but again, it's the two orbs. It's the popular opinion of what happened and the actual facts. And you can't argue with an opinion. You can present facts and hope people will listen to them. That's all you can do. All right. Peace out.